By far the biggest mystery in Dragon's Rising is why did the merge happen? But the second biggest mystery is who is Lord Ras' master. We first learn of this character's existence at the end of Season 1, and ever since they have become, from what I can tell, the single most discussed aspect of the show. And as someone who has a channel primarily focused on Dragon's Rising, I feel like I'm kind of obligated to make a video on Ras' master before the identity is revealed. But the reason I haven't until now is because I don't really have any super solid ideas on who they could be. I don't have some complex theory on why Harumi is Ras' master. But lately there has been another aspect of this mysterious character I've been thinking about, and that is the main reason for this video's existence. Though I do also want to go through a list of characters I've thought of and heard other people talk about who could possibly be Ras' master. The first of whom is the Source Dragon in Motion. Last year, during the months between when the tournament sources sets were first revealed and episodes 31 through 40 were leaked in July, I thought for sure that the Source Dragon in Motion was Ras' master. She was in Lloyd's visions earlier in the season, featured in some pretty suspicious ways, but then there was her set. Her set included a throne for Ras to ride her on. I was so sure this meant she was his master that I even said this in my video on those summer sets. And now one thing is that this does unfortunately reveal or spoil that the Source Dragon of Motion is Ras' master, which was a theory that I was 100% on board with, and I did believe, but it is unfortunate that it's getting spoiled here months before the season comes out. But then the rest of the season was leaked, and it turned out that that throne was just a set thing. And now I feel like an idiot for jumping to conclusions so quickly. Sticking with the Source Dragon theme, I've seen the Source Dragon strength thrown around as Ras' master. I mean, it's obvious, Ras' whole thing is strength, so who else would he look up to other than the Source Dragon of strength? Some details I didn't mention with the Motion Dragon is that whenever Ras speaks to his master, it's very similar to whenever Lloyd has a vision given to him by the Source Dragons. As well in episode 30, Ras calls out to his master for help, and he somehow teleports to Shadow Dojo, and some of the only beings we know could possibly be capable of that are the Source Dragons. And just the idea of the show's ultimate final boss being one of the Source Dragons is a really cool idea. But then Season 3 came around and kind of debunked this theory. Kind of. We find out that the hammer Ras has been carrying around ever since the very first episode is actually a dragon icon, specifically the one for the Strength Dragon. So boom, Ras has this because he was gifted it by the Strength Dragon, because he is his master. Except no, because apparently his master's plan involves obtaining dragon icons for all 7 of the Source Dragons. So now, the idea of Ras' master being a Source Dragon is pretty unlikely, though I'm not completely ruling it out just yet. I do still think there's a chance it could be the Strength Dragon, just a pretty small one, mainly because we don't know. We still know very little about his plan, so until we learn more, I do think that the Strength Dragon is a contender for Ras' master. As well, this could either go for or against the theory, but we now have concrete evidence that there is someone out there just as, if not more powerful than the Source Dragons, because one of them has been killed. Next up, I've heard the Time Twins thrown around quite a bit, and I really do not think it could be them. They are pretty powerful, being the elemental masters of time, but they don't have their powers anymore. The last time we saw them, they were pretty much just normal people. Maybe they could have somehow gotten their powers back while they were trapped in the time vortex thingy, but they would be missing Rewind because that time blade was sent back to the present. And how would they have the power to talk to Ras the way we've been seeing them, or move the Shadow Dojo like that? So unless they've gotten some kind of new power, I don't think it could be them. As well, something we gotta keep in mind here is that Dragon's Rising is designed to be completely accessible to people who have never watched the original series, and bringing back the Time Twins would require explaining pretty much all of Hands of Time. The final option I want to talk about is the Overlord. Unlike a lot of people, I was actually perfectly fine with him being the main villain for Crystallize. Now, that's not saying I like how he was handled, but that's not relevant. But what I really would not like is if he came back in DR. The Overlord was the main villain for Ninjago. Dragon's Rising is not Ninjago. It is a new show with a new story and new characters. The Overlord being Ras the Master is one of the worst things they could do. Also, while the Overlord is powerful, I don't think he's powerful enough to qualify for Ras the Master. We know that the Source Dragons are more powerful than the first Ninjutsu Master, and the Overlord was created to be a perfect counter to him. They are equal, they balance each other out. So if the Source Dragons are more powerful than the first Ninjutsu Master, then they're definitely more powerful than the Overlord. He is not strong enough to kill one of them. Now, I do think that it could be possible for him to get more powerful now that the world he inhabits has been significantly increased. But we know that this dragon was killed a long time ago because its corpse has already rotted away and has been buried. Since there aren't really any already existing characters who I think are Ras's master, I'm pretty confident that they will be someone completely new. We don't know much about them, but the little information we do know doesn't really line up with anyone we already know. So now for the part of the video that's actually related to the title. Ras's master is going to be disappointing. No matter how awesome, how amazing this character could be, they will never be able to reach the same heights as someone else. Lord Ras has already cemented himself as one of the greatest villains. He has been the main villain up until this point and will continue to be until his master's reveal. He's been around since the very beginning. He is the Lord Garmadon of Dragon's Rising. Even if his master is absolutely fantastic, they will always be overshadowed by their servant. They will not go down as the greatest villain in Dragon's Rising. Ras will, and there's nothing that can change that. And while this isn't anything new for this franchise, think Python the Great Devourer, Morin the Preeminent, and Kalmon Wojira. What is new is just how long this character has been built up for. That and also Lord Ras's master is, I think, expected to be an actual character. You know, like the Great Devourer, the Preeminent, Wojira. None of them are actual characters. They were kind of just giant mindless monsters. This is a character who has been hinted at since the last episode of Season 1. Both the show and the fandom have been building hype for this character for the past 2 years. This is a character whose introduction will change our entire view on this show. Their reveal will be one of the most important moments in this franchise's history. But despite all of that, they will forever live in the shadow of Lord Ras. The show has had years to build up Ras's character, but his master will only begin a single season, if even that. Which makes me kind of worry that his master will just be another Overlord, another Thunderfang, another bland and boring villain. I want to go more in depth on this in a future video, but Dragon's Rising hasn't had the best track record when it comes to season exclusive villains. Beatrix, Cinder, Blecht, Thunderfang, and most of the Familiar Five are all at best just good, simple, generic villains that do what they need to do and not much more. And this is 100% just a guess, but assuming that Ras's master will be introduced at the end of Season 4, and will then be the main villain for Season 5, I'm worried that they'll be kind of boring and not all that interesting when compared to his underling, which would drag them, Ras, and the show as a whole down. But my main point is that they've written themselves into a corner. They've already made Ras such a good character that there's no possible way that his master could ever top him. And for someone who's going to be the show's final villain, that's kind of a shame. Now, don't get me wrong, I am still super excited to find out who this character is. But at the same time, I am very scared, because I'm worried that it will be another Forbidden 5 situation, where they build up so much hype for this character, but then seriously drop the ball when it comes time for them to actually be the main focus. But yeah, this was my obligatory Lord Ras's Master video. And with that, I'd really appreciate it if you took 2 seconds to like and subscribe. I will be doing both a collection showcase and a Q&A at 1,000 subscribers. And bye!